If you are seeing this, that means that it is Wednesday and we are back for yet another episode of Worship Wednesdays. As always, I want to thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for holding me accountable. Thank you so much for talking back. And thank you so much for being a part of what God is doing in my life, but being professed through dance. I don't take for granted that there are people that are anticipating these videos and there are lives that are being impacted by what God is doing through my life. And honestly, it's an honor. So without further ado, I'm gonna dive into where I am and what this dance means to me. I found this song scrolling on Facebook, I believe. I meant to take note of whose page I saw it on. If you see this and you know you posted this song recently, thank you. I don't remember. But I took a screenshot and made the note like, hey, I gotta go back and listen to the song. I downloaded it to my Apple Music. And when I finally got a chance to go back and listen to it, it really spoke to me. Because honestly, you guys see, I do a lot of reflecting and thinking and, talking to God and trying to make sense and analyze what I'm currently going through, but what has happened, what I've gone through, and how it's leading me to where I believe God is taking me. So, coincidentally, I feel like I look through my Facebook memories a lot, and sometimes it's for laughs, sometimes it's for nostalgia, sometimes whatever. And so I had posted a couple years ago that Jesus didn't die for us to be sorry. He died for us to be changed. And to even extend that out further, he didn't take on flesh, come to earth, give us an example to be crucified and then resurrected for us to be sorry. He did all of those things to change us, to recommit us, to honestly draw us back to his Father and to mend the distance that was put in between us because of sin. And so with all those things considered, even without all those things considered, the true definition of repentance isn't about the apology. It isn't about the I'm sorry. It isn't even about the acknowledgement that it's wrong. It's the acknowledgement, it's the apology, and it's the continuous effort to go forth and to turn away from whatever it is that you are repenting from. I say all this to say, because when I'm considering my own walk, my own journey, this is where it kind of led me to. So about, I guess, like a year and a half ago, maybe even closer to 2 years, I was having a conversation with someone, and I was saying, like, I know life doesn't go as planned. Like, I know there are things that we plan and mishaps happen and setbacks happen and things like that, but I wasn't talking about that. I was like, there's things that I genuinely wanted from my life. There's ways that I saw things going. There's things that I promised myself I would be able to do or execute that not only have I not done them, but I don't think I've put myself in a position to ever do them or to accomplish them. And it hurt me to say, because there were some things that I really wanted to do for myself. And some of them are like silly and minuscule, and I'm like, if it doesn't happen, it's not going to be the end of the world. But then some of them had more meaning. And so for me, I was like torn, because I was like, am I just gonna take the L? Like, am I just gonna be without those things? And then the person said, so then you got to make the life, like, and so matter of factly, so what can you do about like, practically, what can you do about those things? And like, talking like in like the natural, what are some steps that you could take, not like some actual executable steps? And honestly, at that point, I had no idea. So I did what I do when I'm like, I don't know. So I fasted for some time and, really took it to God, because honestly, I had no idea. I just knew that I was discontent with some of the decisions that I was making. I was discontent with the way that some of the things were going, and I knew I wanted to make a change. And I wanted to make a change for him and for his glory, and to have my life exemplify who God is for me. And so one of the things that, and I'm going to be real because we're talking about repentance, and I've tried to be as open and honest and as transparent as I can be when it comes to these videos, because I want them to show through the profession of dance and the declaration that I'm making in my life. So I try to be really honest here. I feel like God sat me down and was really like, how do you expect me to bless things that you aren't glorifying me with? How do you expect me to come in and enter and change and impact things that you haven't given back to me or dedicated to me or laid at my feet? Ouch. But the reality of it is that I was believing God for things with areas of my life that I hadn't dedicated to him. I mean, part of this even goes back to Worship Wednesday, because I felt like there was some medical things going on and some weight things going on in my life that I was like, I wanted God to bless my body, to go against what the doctor's report said, to give me abilities that I hadn't seen myself be able to do in quite some time. How are you doing that if you're not going to glorify me with that body you're asking me to bless, if you're not going to give me that body and use your life to speak? How do you want me to bless that relationship if you really haven't left it at my feet? Like, you pray for it and you say you want this and you say you want that and you're believing me for all these things, but every time you say you leave it at my feet, you start worrying again and pick it all back up. How you say you want me to do something in your business, but you won't take the leap of faith to really dive back in there and say that you trust me. Like, you have to meet me where you want, So, it hurt. It was painful. It was hard to digest, but honestly, it was the truth. How do I ask you to come in and bless and take over? Say I'm extending you the invitation and then close the door, or say that it's yours and you can have free reign and then keep it to myself and like harbor it. So honestly, that's bogus. So part of Worship Wednesday, as I'm continuing to believe God for different things in my life, is the profession and the dedication that this praise, this worship, these dances, this body, this life belongs to you. And I will continue to praise you in a studio, in a backyard, in a park, in a parking lot, wherever I feel led, wherever he sees fit, to continue to declare and remind myself, even when things get rough, and even when things get hard, that this is about me glorifying him. Does it matter that I care that people are driving by or walking by? No, get out of your head. It shouldn't matter, because this isn't about them. This is about your relationship with God and you being obedient to what God has called you to do. Additionally, I tried to think of a smoother segue here, but I can't. Additionally, this song has also caused me to reflect on the ability to see people the way God does, or the ability to see people the way God sees you. And I kind of talked about this a couple weeks ago when I posted He's Not on His Knees Yet, because I talked about relationship dynamics and how I interact or believe God for situations of other people. But one of the things I have to keep encountering, and one of the things that I am continuously working with in terms of my relationship with God, is who I am to other people and how I relate to them, and my capacity for love and forgiveness. There's a part of the song where she's kind of pleading, like, please forgive me. I'm sorry that I broke your heart. I'm sorry for the pain that I caused. And every time I think that I am incapable of forgiving someone or loving someone past pain, I think about how many times God has had to do that for me. I think about how hurt I've been and think about how it doesn't compare to all the sin and shame and wrongdoings and crimes and foul things like that Jesus had to put on him to be able to die for us, to die for me, and to still want relationship with me after the pain I've caused, and still want to use me after going against things that he's told me to do, or things that he wanted me to say, being too fearful to be bold. And so that turns into disobedience. And like, it's crazy to me how God can still love me. But if God can still love me, that means that he can also equip me to still love everyone else. Even the person that's done me wrong, even someone that's betrayed me, even the one that I can love them and not expect anything back. Like, he can equip me to do that because Jesus exemplified that over and over and over and over. And he continues to do that for us in our day-to-day lives as we continuously extend grace. So I think about how I've been hurt, and I'm just one person. I think about how God has been hurt on a global level through generations and generations and still continues to love us unconditionally and committed to loving us. So much so that he sent his only son for us. That's crazy. It's absolutely insane. But it's crazy because we think like humans, and his ways are higher than our ways, and his thoughts are higher than our thoughts. And so I think about how often I miss the mark, and whether it's intentional or unintentional. And I think about how he's still able to love me. And so when I consider all those things, and not just that he loves me, he still wants to continue to use me for his glory. He still wants to continue to have me encourage people, to lift people up, to point them back to him. So when I think about those things, when I think about that truth, I can't help but to want to worship him. Honestly, getting these last couple of weeks of Worship Wednesdays out has been hard, but when I think about Jesus dying on a cross, me posting a YouTube video is nothing. At least get it together. Get your life, your entire life. Because when you put it into perspective, that means nothing. It's the least you can do. So, my little nugget of knowledge this week is I'm not telling anyone to have no boundaries and to have people walk all over them and treat them however. That's not what I'm advocating for. I'm saying that when you are put in a position to extend forgiveness and to extend grace, remind yourself the type of forgiveness and the type of grace that you have needed and that you would expect if the shoe was on the other foot, or if this was you before God. And I think that's a good baseline to give you the strength and the endurance to trust God in that area so that you can show it to someone else. And that is where I am today. Or like realistically these last couple of weeks. So I pray that something that was said or a movement that you saw resonates with you and gives you something to talk about with God today. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey and listening to me pour out my heart time and time again. This has been another episode of Worship Wednesdays, and I hope to see you back here next week. Thanks.
Hear my prayer, oh God. I'm crying out to you, oh Lord. I'm sorry for the pain that I've done. I don't wanna go back to that place again. Here I'm sorry for the pain that I've caused. Here I'm sorry for breaking your heart. Hear my prayer, oh God. I'm crying out to you, oh God. I'm sorry for the pain that I've done. And I'm sorry that I broke your heart. Here I'm sorry for the pain that I've caused. Here I'm sorry for breaking your heart. Please forgive me. I don't wanna go back to that place again. Please forgive me. I am sorry for breaking your heart. Please forgive me. I am sorry for breaking your heart. Please forgive me. I'm sorry, Lord. Please forgive me, Lord. Please forgive me. I'm sorry for breaking your heart.